What up, guys? It's your boy Harry Wilmington here. Happy 4th of July. I don't know why I'm doing a stream at midnight. I don't believe anybody's going to actually watch this, at least this time of night that I'm doing it. But I've been up and I wanted to talk to you guys about something because I've been reading my various comments on my page and I've been reading various messages that I get. And time and time again, I get men on that are coming to my comment section and they're leaving me questions that they have, and a lot of these guys are well-meaning guys that want nothing more than to make the woman they're with the absolute happiest that she can possibly be. You know what? That is a very admirable thing, and I think if you're one of those guys that's trying to do the best you can to keep your woman happy, then you should do that. But here's the problem: is that there are too many men that are comments that I'm reading in my sections and stuff like that that are coming across as super duper sensitive. I mean, there's guys that are writing things like, I can't get this girl that I've been dating for a while to respond back to me, and I've been crying over it for days, and I'm agonizing, and I'm trying to be sensitive, and I told her how I feel, and I did all these things so she could understand that I want to get to know her on a connection level, and it's not just about hooking up, it's about really being deep with her and all these things, right? And these guys are having problems because these are guys that are being super sensitive and trying to connect with their woman by being emotional. And then they're not understanding why it is that these women aren't wanting to continue to see them. Because as guys, we take in information that we hear about what women are saying they want. And then we do those things. And then we find when we do those things that we don't get the results that we want. And as a guy, it can be baffling. It can be baffling as to how is it that when you're being a sensitive, kind soul, that a woman doesn't want to date you. And then meanwhile, you're seeing these so-called jerks and a-holes out there that are not being these nice guys and are not being very sensitive to a woman's needs. And yet those are the guys that women end up wanting to go home with and get their brains blown out or banged out by them, And I get it can be very frustrating because I used to be that same guy. When I was in like high school and college, I was a guy that was trying to, be over complimentary and try to plan the best dates and try to talk about how I already liked them and blah, 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 right? And none of that worked. But why is that? Why is it that you as a sensitive guy are not an attractive option to women? Like, what is it about that? Because you're thinking it should work and it doesn't. And women don't typically want to purposely get with a guy that's going to like be mean to them or beat them or harass them. But what is it about a sensitive guy that turns women off? Well, I'm here to give you the exact answer to that question. Here is the reason why women do not like to date sensitive men. And by the way, if you ask women about this, they themselves don't always understand why it is they do or do not like certain types of guys, but they understand things that don't sound logical, even though they work on emotional logic. They'll hear you say, women don't like sensitive men, and their response is, that's not true. I want a guy that's sensitive and kind and caring and will take care of me, and how dare. But if you ask them about their dating history, I can assure you most women's dating history is full of dudes that were not sensitive and weren't the best of guys. And he had just had the muscles and the smell, and he ended up being a jerk later, blah, blah. But she slept with them. She didn't sleep with you, but she slept with this jerk guy, right? So, enough chitter chatter. Here is the real reason why women don't date sensitive men. And it all goes back to biology and the nature and the way in which women are in this society. Because here's the thing, right? A woman needs to be able to picture that if there's ever a tough situation that arises where she's going to seemingly be overpowered by the situation or the people coming into the situation, that the guy she's with can be the person that's there to overpower the threat. And when you are a guy that is hypersensitive and soft and squishy, she can no longer picture you as the person that is going to protect her. That is the borderline biology, nature reason why women across the board, no matter what they tell you, aren't actively seeking out sensitive men. Now, you might be confused by that because you're thinking to yourself, but Harry, I thought women wanted a dude that was sensitive. And this is another place where guys get tripped up because we're taking their literal words and assuming that they literally mean the thing they're saying. And this is the problem with talky language, is that oftentimes there aren't either enough words or it's hard to find the right words to be able to describe an emotion. And so women, by nature, in a good way, are coming from an emotional place. So you're taking a person that's coming from an emotional place and wanting them to communicate to you things in a verbal, logical context. And that's not going to always be a perfect translation. So here's what women mean when they say they want a sensitive guy. What they mean is they want a guy that's going to be sensitive to their emotions and to be sensitive to what they're going through. Meaning, if she comes to you with a complaint, or she comes to you with a problem, or she just comes to you saying, hey, I found this thing in the store that I thought was really cute, and you don't think it's cute, or you don't think the thing she brought to you was a real problem, they want to know that even if you don't view it the same way, you're not going to tease them about it. You're going to actually hear and listen to what they have to say. And that's going to make them feel like you are connecting to her and that you're being sensitive to what her needs are and what her likes are. That's what they mean when they say they want a sensitive guy. It's not about you having to actually be sensitive. It's about the fact that when a woman comes to you, she wants you to be a safe space where she can go to basically express any kind of thought or feeling she has and not be judged too harshly for it. All right. So when you hear women say, I want a sensitive guy, stop thinking that means, oh, as the guy, I need to be able to cry and I need to be able to tell her that I have all these feelings, because if you do that, you're going to be dead in the water to most women. Now, unfortunately, in this society, between the media and between a bunch of R&B songs and a bunch of sappy TV shows, men have been propagandized to believe the lie that if you are a sensitive guy, women will reward you. Think to like all those movies where you have this nerdy guy and he's in love with this cheerleader woman or this really hot babe in high school, right? And she's dating like the school jerk. He's the football player of the team. He's the captain of something. And he's just an out and about jerk. And the whole movie is spent where these two run off and he's talking about his sensitive side and how, oh, he wouldn't harm her and he'd bring love to her life and she deserves better. And a guy that like him that's going to treat her, oh my God. And then by the end of the movie, it works. He steals away the woman from this so-called a-hole of a guy. And then roll credits. They, I guess, live happily ever after until they graduate high school when they're not going to actually be together anymore. So we see this in movies. And then we hear the R&B songs where the guy's like, oh, baby, I'll make sweet, soft, sensitive love to you. And you tell me what you want from me and I'm going to do it for you. Like we hear all these sensitive things and all these sensitive songs and all these sensitive shows where guys are being extra sensitive and we see it working. And this is where our logical brains get us in trouble because then we see that and say, oh, they made a logical progression between this guy being sensitive and him being able to get this girl. Therefore, if I'm a sensitive guy, then that should also work for me. And unfortunately, guys, this is not how the real world works, because the real world works where most women are going to want guys to A, be stoic, B, be confident, and C, know themselves enough to know that they can handle situations. And when you come into the picture being an extremely sensitive guy, all that shows to a woman is that you are weak and that you don't know how to handle stuff that's coming to you in the outside world. And if you can't handle it, then how are you going to be able to handle it if she gets with you? Which now poses a threat and a danger to her safety. Because, like I said, across the board, most women are not as strong as men and aren't able to defend themselves as easily as men. And women will say, but that's not true because I could, what? You could call the cops, who are going to be mostly what? Men. You can call your family members like your uncle or your brother, who are also men. If you need something fixed in the home, you can call a plumber or somebody that's going to come along that's probably a guy. So when women again are saying, well, I need my guy to be sensitive, recognize that, again, she's meaning one, that she needs a guy that's sensitive to her emotions, but also most time when women are saying they want something from a guy, it's something from a guy that they're in a relationship with. And that also goes to, that's different than what she needs from a guy that she is dating. Because, yeah, if you're in a relationship with a woman long enough, if there's times when you occasionally cry or occasionally bring up an emotion or a hard time you're going through, she has a basis of knowing that ultimately you're a guy that she can trust upon when stuff comes up, because she's seen you more often than not being stoic and being able to take care of business. All right. But the dating phase, of all the phases in a relationship with the woman, whether it's the dating phase, the fiance phase, the marriage phase, whatever, the phase where you cannot be an overly sensitive guy is definitely in the dating phase, because this is the phase where she is getting to start to know you and paint a picture of you in her head. And all those first impressions that you're making are going to be very, very important. So if the first impression that you're giving these women is that you're an overly sensitive dude, you're a guy that's about crying and petting puppies and being soft and warm, she's not thinking about the now. She's thinking about later on when something happens, her car breaks down, or a guy comes up to you guys when you're walking and threatens to do harm or steal a purse or whatever. And are you going to be able to handle it? And in the state that you're in right now, being your super sensitive self, she's not getting any picture or idea that you're going to be that guy. So this is why, and I say this because I've been reading through comments this last week and messages that I've been getting where guy after guy is like, I'm feeling some kind of way, and I told her I really loved her, and I was, giving her everything she wanted, and I was being super feely-deely, and all of a sudden she went away. But this happens on a consistent basis. And for most men, it's the same pattern of they meet a girl that they really, really like, and then they start being oversensitive and start revealing their feelings, and then she goes away. So rather than a guy learning from that, he'll say, well, that was just her. But the next girl that comes along, if she really likes me, I'm going to be able to be my complete total self and tell her all my feelings, and that's going to make this work. And then they get with another woman and start doing the same crap, and it doesn't work. And after 3 or 4 times of this, rather than the guy saying, maybe being super sensitive isn't going to help me, instead they say, all women are crazy because I'm a sensitive guy and they should want me and they don't. What's going on? And also, I try to stress to you guys this too. For those of you guys that are trying to be sensitive towards women, part of that, if you're going to do it, part of that is understanding the dating process and understanding what women actually need from you in order for them to feel attraction and feel safe and trust you. And so if you're being this overly sensitive guy that's emoting and spewing out all these feelings and it's not working, what should that tell you? What that should tell you is that you are not actually giving women what they need in order to have an enjoyable relationship with you, which means you are in effect not being sensitive. Because being sensitive is understanding that just because you think you or feel as though a way you're doing something should work, if you recognize it's not actually working, then you figure out what it is that they need, and that makes you a sensitive guy. And the best way you could be sensitive towards a woman is to not be so sensitive. You need to be able to build up the kind of tolerance in life that's going to allow you to bypass problems or at least get through them, because women are going to look to you and your leadership to help get them out of situations that may arise that she can't handle or that seem momentous. Women oftentimes, when problems arise in their lives, they make a big old freaking deal out of it, but they're looking for you as the guy to be able to kind of narrow that down. She says, oh my God, this thing happened at work and I'm just freaking out, blah, 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 blah. After you listen to her and let her talk about it for a bit, And you can even say, hey, babe, I feel you going through that thing. I know it can be really hard. At the end of the day, she's going to want you to feel as though she can get all that out, but she's going to be looking to you to be able to calm that down. Be like, hey, babe, I know you had a hard day at work. You're complaining about the situation. Let's go take a bath. Let's do a little hookup action. We can talk about it for a bit. And then you calm her down and you bring her world smaller. All right. You being extra sensitive, she's not going to get the idea that you're going to be able to be there for her in those hard moments to do that, because now she's got to worry about if you're crying about something and if you're being overly sensitive about things. And it doesn't make a woman feel safe. There's been tons of news stories where dudes that are overly sensitive get too much in their feelings. And next thing you know, they're offing a bunch of people at their job, or they're offing off the person that they're dating. And women watch murder mystery stories where this stuff happens to where it's in their head. If this guy's too sensitive, something must be wrong with him. So that's why I stress again, when women say they want a sensitive guy, they're actually meaning that they want you to be sensitive to their emotions, but they want you to have your stuff figured out. They want you to be a guy that a lot of things don't bother them, or that when bothersome things come along, you can just kind of be like, yeah, that sucks, but we'll live another day. Because they're always in their head about stuff and trying to solve problems, and things are all connected together. And if both of you are like that, then unfortunately, again, that's not going to make her feel safe. And also, real talk, guys, being super sensitive to things is very much female feminine energy. A woman that wants a masculine guy is not going to appreciate dating another guy that is showing off feminine qualities. Borderline. Even in like lesbian relationships, it's usually like one of the women have a more masculine energy and the other woman has more feminine energy, right? At the point that they both start matching energies, even they will cancel each other out, because you need polar opposing type energies. If she's going to be the one bringing the feminine in, that means that she can be the sensitive one. If you're the one bringing the masculine in, then that means you got to be the one that's a bit more stoic, has his stuff together, and is not overly bothered by life. Now, if you grew up in a situation where maybe you had an overly sensitive mother or maybe an overly sensitive father, and you just grew up to where you just have all these feelings and you're always being fluffy, I'm sorry to hear that, but the world does not owe you understanding. I grew up, once my dad died, I grew up around a bunch of women. And there was a time when I could honestly say, in terms of the energy I was giving out, it was probably leaning more towards feminine. And I had to be like, I could be mad about it and be like, women should accept me as I am, or I could just learn. I could unlearn some bad habits that I had as a guy and learn some newer habits that would actually help me, not just in my success life, but also in my relationship life. And I've felt all the more better for it. So don't think that where you're at now needs to be your stopping point. Because if that was true, we'd all be acting the way that we were when we came out the womb. The reality is, however you are now, you could be a great guy right now, but you might not be the kind of guy, in terms of how you're presenting yourself to the world, that is going to effectively be able to get the women that you want. And so you got to ask yourself, do you want to be stuck on your ego and saying, I'm already perfect, so what if I'm extra sensitive? Women should still like this and not get women? Or do you say, you know what? Harry's right. Maybe I could be a bit more stoic and let things bother me less. Maybe I can work on exercises or doing things that would allow me to eventually get to that place to where I won't be so bothered by stuff and I won't be so overly sensitive to things. And that will allow me to be a better person and also happen to get women. And you could totally do that. You can totally decide to make the decision to not be so sensitive and start working on that. As you get older, honestly, I find, I'm 41 now, things bother me a lot less now than they did back even in my 20s. But even in my 20s, I was still relatively pretty good at like not letting too many things bother me. But I had some stuff I had to work on. I had some stuff that like, hey, I can't let this one thing here allow me to be bugged too much, and I can't be overly sensitive about this. And I got to be, a bit more understanding of how I look when I'm coming to women and presenting myself as such. Because at the end of the day, both men and women need to know what the other sex needs in order to effectively be in a relationship. And if you are being overly sensitive, that is going to cause you a lot of harm and a lot of women not wanting to date you. And I want you to be able to have the best dating life possible. And that could very well mean that, hey, guy, you're a little too sensitive for women want to date, and you need to get that handled. Just real talk, because I got a bunch of messages that I could go through right now on this stream, but this is a late night stream and I'm not staying on that long. So I'll go over some of those messages in the course of the week. But today's a holiday, so I'm not doing my 3:30 show, so I figured I'd do it now. But yeah, ultimately, guys, like, if you feel bad, that if you feel confused that women aren't dating you when you're being a sensitive guy, then you got to look at the evidence. The reality is that women want you to be sensitive to them, but they want to date men that they feel have things put together pretty well. So if you're not at that point, then I'd say start working towards that. I'm obviously here to help. You can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and click on the coaching tab or click on one of the products tab to start figuring out how to get yourself in a situation, in a place whereby more women will see you as that guy that they want to date and not one that's like overly sensitive. So hopefully, guys, this helps you out. Thank you for those that checked in and watched portions of this late night stream. And yeah, be sure to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and I will catch you guys at a later date. I'm out. Peace.
Call this beat Will Smith, cause it slaps hard. Hear it not when I pull up on your boulevard. Ain't got no rims spinning, ain't got no chain blinging, but I got money, you can tell by all the hungry women. Leveled up like I'm world 8.